Not back there yet.
Ready?
Trying to let him get back in the office. Okay, I'd like to call the Special Budget Review Committee to order. It's October 17th, 2019, and we're in the Aldermatic Chamber, and it's 7 p.m. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman at Large Larry Wiltshire. Here. Alderman at Large Michael O'Brien is present. Alderman at Large Ben Clemens.
Here.
Alderman Jan Schmidt is absent. Alderman at Large David Tenza is absent. Alderwoman at Large Shoshana Kelly is absent. Also in attendance is Alderman Ernest Jetty and our chairman, Richard Dowd.
Present. Okay, Alderman Schmidt is on a trip to Europe and will be back shortly, but she's not here this evening. Okay, so the first item on the agenda is public comment. Is there anyone in the public that would like to address anything that's coming before us this evening? Seeing none, communications?
Before us this evening is,
excuse
me, yeah. None, there is none.
Okay, unfinished business?
There is none.
New business resolutions?
R-19-177 has been removed from the board due to the automatic meeting on October 8th.
Okay,
Also before us is R-19-179, approving the cost items of a collective bargaining agreement between the Nashua School Board of Education and the Nashua School Custodians Union, Local 365, Council 93, ASME, AFL-CIO, from July 1st, 2016 through June 30th, 2021, and related transfers. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to recommend final passage.
okay, the motion is to recommend final passage of R-19-179. Is there anyone here from the custodians or the school department?
Well, do you want to come up and speak?
Union is here, yeah.
Okay. Discussion? Oh, all right. Alderman O'Brien?
Yes. Since my time on the board, this has been one of the contracts that has been kind of out there. And I think it's basically seems to come to a mutual agreement. Some of the conversations I had on both sides, both parties, they seem to, like, again, have come to an agreement. And I'm glad to basically have that and put this away so we can look to forward things in the city. So shows the good work that can be done in negotiations. Thank you.
Alderman Clements?
Thank you. Yes, I was, so this has been, your struggle has been going on really since 2015, when the school board decided to go down the path of privatization as opposed to just renewing what ultimately is this contract before us. And, you know, that, as far as I'm concerned, was a stain on the city. But what's worse is not only the battle that that those group of employees went through, but then the fact that once it was finally settled, that they went another few years without any negotiation, any real contract coming forward, until finally some pressure was put on the superintendent and the school board by myself and some other aldermen here, and we finally got, you know, they finally got something done. So I'm happy that this has come to fruition. I'm happy that we can finally close this sad chapter in our city's history and move forward with something that I think everybody can agree is a good deal.
Any other questions? Alderman Jetty?
So I'm disappointed that there's no one here from the school department or the administration to answer questions about this. I mean, I'm not I'm not opposed to approving this contract. I know that the custodians have been waiting for this to get done for a long time, and I know they've been through a difficult time, and I support them. But I couldn't help but notice, a couple of weeks ago, we did not approve a contract involving civilian employees of the police department because, among other things, but mainly, we were told that the city has been trying to reform sick leave to aim towards 720 hours of sick leave that you can accumulate. Um, and I noticed that this contract, it's not a change, it's been that way, but full-time employees can accumulate 960 hours of sick leave. Um, and I said before, and just so you understand where I'm coming from, I think sick leave is an important benefit that we should provide to our employees. And the purpose of sick leave is so that when people are sick, they can take time off as necessary because of their illness without they or their family suffering any financial hardship as a result. So when they're sick, they take time off and they still get paid. But what bothers me is that the concept that people can accumulate sick leave, and then even if they're fortunate enough not to get sick, they can, when they retire or resign, they can cash that out. I don't think sick leave should be a bonus or an addition to compensation. I think it's should be used for the limited purpose of of making sure people are paid even if they're sick. And I notice on this contract that they can accumulate up to 960 hours, which is not a change, I don't think. And when they retire, they can cash after 10 years of employment. Upon retirement or resignation, they can be paid for all accrued unused sick leave up to, under the current contract, 50%. And then if this contract is approved for people who are hired after this, it'll go down to 40%. But that's still a lot more than the 20% that we're limiting other employees in the city to. And I also noticed in this contract that under the current contract, employees are provided with short-term disability insurance that, and the premium is paid by the city, and it goes into effect after 14 days, and you get paid 60% of your pay for 25 weeks. And then there's also long-term disability, which is fine. I think that's a wonderful thing to have. But under this new contract, you're giving that short-term disability for people that are hired after this contract goes into effect. And I wish there was somebody here who could answer why we're doing that, why we're asking them to do that.
Anyone else want to address that, or?
Might we want to invite one of the union reps up to speak?
Would anyone like to come up and address it? If you want to sit at one of the
Yeah,
chairs,
you
you can
can-
do that.
Yes.
We won't make you run for office.
Okay. Might make you want to be out here.
Well, I don't want to put you on the spot if you're not.
Excuse me, Alderman
if you're-
Jettie, could you please introduce yourself
Right.
so that the recording, you could be recorded in?
Is this on?
Yes.
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 Donna Grady, Chatham Chair of ASME Local 365. Nashua School District custodians.
Okay.
You have a question for her, Alderman Jennings?
So my comment and my comment was that, that under this contract, the custodians are getting, are able to accumulate more sick leave than what other people in this, you know, what the mayor says that we're aiming towards with other employees in the city. But more importantly, under the current contract, you get short-term disability insurance paid by the city. In this new contract, you're giving that up, and I was wondering why.
Giving it up for new employees?
For people hired after this takes effect, yes.
Right. Basically, because the district said it was costing too much money and that people were using it. They didn't want people to use it. People were getting hurt. And when you get hurt, you use the disability. That doesn't sit well with the school department.
Okay, and you went along with that?
The contract's been ongoing for 3 years and 4 months. 114 people have been without a pay increase for that time. They're watching unions all around them get increases. They were getting nothing. There had to come a time where we gave in. We actually gave in on a lot of this contract. And it was basically to settle it because going 3 years without a pay increase, with everything going up around you, people are starting to have a hard time. If you're a custodian and living on your same pay from 3 years ago, they're having a very hard time making ends meet. So we have the sick time. We kept the long-term disability. So hopefully people can accumulate enough sick time to get them into that long-term disability if they're seriously hurt. So it was kind of like the lesser of evils to give it up. I mean, we didn't want to give it up. We fought against it. But we didn't want to hold up the contract any longer than it was.
I have a question. I know it's in here, but when does long-term disability kick in? After how many days?
26 weeks.
26
Short-term
weeks.
disability goes to 25 weeks, and then after that, you have to redo your paperwork, and it goes right into long-term disability.
Okay.
One of the things we tried telling them was we were the one group in the school department that we could not come back to work on light duty. I mean, if we have a broken arm or a broken leg, we can't stand there and teach a class. We're physically working. So the disability was a benefit for a lot of people who did get hurt. And we have like rotator cuff injuries, things like that, because of the repetition of what they're doing. And people took advantage of it. And like I said, it was frowned upon. So we gave it up in hopes that people could accumulate their sick time to get them into long-term disability.
Okay,
Other questions?
thank you.
Alderman Clemmons.
No contract is ever perfect. That's certainly certain. And, you know, my opinion, had I been on the school board negotiating this, I probably would have tried to get that back in. But we don't negotiate the contracts here. We only say yay or nay. I appreciate the explanation. Thank you. And I think it's penny wise and pound foolish. That said, it's not going to stop me from from not supporting this because, again, like you said, these folks have gone without an increase in pay for over 3 years. And the pay increases in here are modest. You're talking, I think it's like 0.5% for the first 2 years. And then, you know, and obviously that's going to be retroactive And then you have, it goes up from there, I think to 3% in the last year of the contract. 3.1%.
It's
But-
an average of 1.68% over the 5 years.
Right. So, you know, it's, like I said, no contract is ever perfect. But I think it's a happy day overall in Nashua if we pass this, because we can move on. We can move on from the just basically ripping people apart, and which is what the school board did back in 2015. And I honestly, you know, think that had that not happened, you would have had a contract years ago.
Any other comments? Alderman Wiltshire.
I'd just like to say that I appreciate that you come forward, and it's not easy to give something like that up. I know where I work, we get 5 sick days a year, that's it. And so our short-term disability, the employee pays for it. And we get 60% after, 7 days, an elimination period of 7 days. But it's important because we don't get much sick time. So we count on that short-term disability, but I mean, if you have sick time on the books and you can accumulate it, I'll say like Alderman Clemmons, it's not perfect, but at least you have something to fall back on. Maybe the next contract, you can think about adding short-term disability that's employee paid, so you can have at least that benefit, but it's not perfect, but happy to see it come forward.
Alderman O'Brien.
I've got to echo briefly, I agree with Alderman Clemmons, no contract is perfect. And when you look at different contracts with all of our unions, there is a difference between apples and oranges. There's technically maybe seeking a raise is a commonality, but the language within the different contracts are different because you're dealing with the fire who deal with fire hose and the police who deal with legal matters, and there's two different things that come into play with that. And now you have the custodians, but we come a long way. Unfortunately, too long on this particular contract. And if I seem to remember, there was even a whisper out there of privatization of, custodial work. That would have been a shame. To have people in our school system that we do not know that are working for a private contractor coming in and supplying something. Now, I've been out of school a long time, but I had good old Mr. Kennedy as our custodian. Every kid in the building knew Mr. Kennedy, and he knew you by the first name basis. Knew your brothers, your sisters, the whole family, and everything else. And that is something.
Don't name them, Mike.
No, I won't. I came from a lot of them. But the thing is to have that ability and to maintain a working force. I thank you for the concessions. I respect the other board that you have to deal with. They are duly elected. They have the authority over your contract where we just approve the money, unfortunately. You unfortunately do not negotiate with us. But the thing is to have the continuity of the people that the children particularly know is very important. And to have the service provided by our custodians in school who work for us and really care in equal parts. I've seen some custodians going the extra mile out in front of schools, crossing kids and stuff like that. It's duly noted with me, so I thank you for your coming to the agreement. So, thank you.
So the other thing I just wanted to point out is total cost for the whole contract is less than 2% a year. From all the other contracts that we've been working with, that's at least a full percent a year below where we've been looking at. But we and the Board of Aldermen cannot dictate, or even the mayor cannot dictate what's going to be in the contract. We can provide guidelines of what we're looking for, but we can't dictate. That's not allowed. And in this particular contract, when I looked at it, there's nothing in here that raises concerns relative to the cost of the city. There's 119 employees, and they, should be taken care of. So I think that's something that, as we said, this has been ongoing for a long time. When we start looking at contracts across the board, like you said, they're all different. And if there's any particular cost item that we think is too excessive for the city budget, then we can work with that. But I don't think there's anything in this contract that is in excess on the city budget whatsoever. And the monies have already been set aside to cover the previous costs in contingency, and it's a pretty low number. And the school department, as part of this motion, by the way, there is the transfer of the money from city contingency to the school department to cover this. So I would like to see us put this finally behind us as a city relative to the custodians who, as was said, are very important to all of the schools and the kids and the parents in the school system. So I'd be supporting it.
Somebody ought to make a motion.
He did,
I did.
for final passage.
It wouldn't be final passage, it would be to recommend passage, but no one's made a motion yet.
I didn't hear a motion either.
I thought you did make it.
I did.
I thought
I
he,
don't think you did.
oh,
Well,
I will.
I'll make the motion, Mr. Chairman, for passage.
Recommend final passage to the
Final
full board.
passage, But I did do when I read it, but.
Okay, so the motion before us is to recommend to the full board final passage, which I always state at the end, is for R 19-179, approving the cost items of a collective bargaining agreement between the Nashua Board of Education and Nashua School Custodian Union, Local 365, Council 893, AFME, AFL-CIO from July 1st, 2016 through June 30th, 2021, and related transfers. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. All right, new business ordinances.
Before us this evening is O-19-055, authorizing the police department to donate lost or abandoned bicycles. Mr. Chairman, I would like to make a motion to recommend final passage.
Okay, the motion on the floor is to recommend final passage of O-19-055, authorizing the police department to donate lost or abandoned bicycles. Any questions, concerns, discussion? I do know the last time I looked at it, they were running out of space. They had so many of them, and, I think this allows them to put them to good use rather than just sitting in a room somewhere.
Madell,
Yeah, us, all the Wilshire.
does the city still do those auctions? I know they used to auction off stuff. Are you aware?
I believe that, I think they give them to somebody to auction off at the state level or something, but it's not bicycles. They've never auctioned bikes. I think in the past they have had a practice of donating them to, like, I don't know, all the charities.
Well, they had mentioned this to me a year or two ago, but they weren't able to donate them. They wanted to donate them to the drug court for people who couldn't drive, that, give them some way to, so I'm a little confused.
Well,
Attorney Bolton?
state law changed.
State law changed.
Now we're passing an ordinance to take advantage of the change that allows the police department to donate to appropriate causes rather than auction it off and put the money into bicycle safety programs, which the law had previously required.
Thank you. I support this. I just wasn't sure why it didn't work a year ago, but now it does. So apparently
I
there
knew
was
the
a
state
change.
law changed, I just didn't know how it changed.
It used to require
Yeah.
that the bicycles be auctioned.
Right.
And the money spent on only bicycle safety programs.
Right.
Now, it allows the police department to donate the bicycles to charity.
Thank you.
Any other discussion on this? Alderman Jettie?
I'm reluctant to say anything, but it happens more often than I would like that some ordinance gets requested by some department in the city, and it comes before a committee, and there's no one here to explain to us what its purpose is, why it's being asked, what the reasons for it are, and what the effect is going to be. And I would just like to put out a plea to the administration and the departments that when you bring ask somebody to bring an ordinance forward, that someone show up to explain what it's for. I mean, I appreciate your effort to try to explain it, but you yourself admit that you don't know. And then, it doesn't seem like the way to run a government to, for us guessing as to what the reasons are. I mean, it sounds like a good thing, so we're all in favor of it because it sounds like a good thing, but I'm not sure any of us really knows what it is.
I think, Alderman Wiltshire?
No, I was just going to say, I think Attorney Bolton addressed it, the fact that the state law changed, so we're able to do this. This has been something the police department has been wanting to do for several years. They don't want to stack up bicycles when they know there are people out there in the community that could use them. So I think based on the change in state law, according to Attorney Bolton, seems to kind of be the reason this came forward.
So, I'm just gonna say something. Oh, I think part of the reason that there's nobody here this evening is this was called late in the cycle for a special meeting. And I'm not entirely sure that the word was passed, to everybody that, like at the school district office, for instance, or the police department. Yes, it's on the city website, and yes, it's posted, but normally they have the 2-week notice, and it wasn't on that because that was generated before we set this meeting, so. And in that light, we have another very, very important budget meeting that's going to be Monday. And I want to make sure that everybody can be here, 'cause it's very important we have a quorum for that meeting. And it has to do with monies coming down from the state. So, and I will make sure that everyone involved in that's aware of it so that the proper people are here to discuss it. Of course, in Monday's case, it's going to be the mayor, Mrs. Kleiner, Attorney Bolton. But I think it's Mrs. Kleiner. I'm not sure if you're gonna be here. Yeah, okay. So, and that just happened, so that's a very important meeting on this coming Monday. I don't know, Attorney Bolton, did you want to mention anything on it, or just?
I think you probably ought to take care of the bicycles first
Yeah.
and get into
Sure.
meeting
Yeah,
announcements
so back
later.
to the bicycles, Alderman Clemmons.
Yeah, I mean, just briefly, I would generally agree with what you said, with regard to having people here at the meetings. Particularly like the contracts and stuff like that, I think that's important. But with stuff like the bicycles, I don't know how much, like, if the police really want to take that much time out of their day to come down here to discuss that. I mean, sometimes it's things that it's just allowing them to donate bikes. I mean, I don't need to know more detail. Personally, I don't need to know more detail other than that. We're giving them the authorization to donate bikes. For me, I don't need to know more. But you know, on the other hand, for the bigger things, I certainly agree with you. So I think it's a balance, you know, do we want to have an employee come down here for a 5-minute discussion on bicycles and have to pay them overtime? You know, I don't know that that's necessary, but
Okay. Any other discussion on the bicycles? Seeing none, the motion on the floor is to recommend final passage of ordinance 019-055, authorizing the police department to donate lost or abandoned bicycles. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
I,
Opposed? Motion carries. Alderman O'Brien. Now, I guess the next item is general discussion. Any discussion? Other than what I just had on the fact that we have a meeting Monday night? No? All right. Public comment? Is there anyone that would like to make any public comment? No? Remarks by Alderman? Alderman O'Brien.
With Ms. Kleiner in the audience, I would like to take the liberty to remind the public that there is a grand opening on October 25th at 5:30 p.m. And it has to do from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. On the grand opening of the new Aganos basketball court right there at the Arlington Street the new Arlington Street Community Center. And we're very grateful to the Aganos companies because they sponsored the project, and it's going to be a wonderful opportunity for the citizens to come in and tour the facilities. And if you're looking for the laughs of laughs, I did tell the mayor, I mean, he's taller than me, I admit that, but I am going to try to shoot the basketball. So if anybody wants to come down and see that, there will be paramedics standing by. You know? So I am assured. So it should be a lot of fun. This is a $20 ticket. There is one drink and some hors d'oeuvres and everything. So it is an over 21 event. But if you can, contact the mayor's office. I would say contact my Facebook automatic page, but with the election, I don't want to do that. So, but I do have it posted there as well. But contact the mayor's office if you're more interested, and there is a link to go to the website to get a ticket. So it's a good event. It supports that Arlington Street Community Project, and hope to see get a lot of people to show up and come and support it. Thank you.
Anyone else?
You want to tell us what the Monday, you said that there's a special meeting of the Budget Review Committee on Monday, and can you tell us what the subject is?
The, as you well know, the money's coming, with the state budget was not passed early, it was passed late. Just got passed not too long ago. The monies are coming down now to the city, and there's some actions that we have to take in order for us to spend the money appropriately. And that's Monday, and it will be fully explained by the mayor.
Okay,
All right?
thank you.
I'm not sure I could explain it even right now, anyway. The other thing is, because of the budget meeting on Monday, we had to change that. On Monday, we were going to have a special meeting of the Board of Education to have the architects go over the middle school plan. That's been postponed till Wednesday because of the budget meeting on Monday. Okay? Anyone have anything else? Do I hear a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion is to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned at 7:34.